What up, team? I'm Captain Kirk. Welcome back to Captain Kirk's Movie Q. This week, we have Heavyweights. This one, directed by Stephen Brill in his directorial debut, which seems to be kind of a theme at this point. It's not intended, just interesting. He's also done movies like Little Nicky, Without a Paddle, Drill Bit Taylor, The Do-Over, so not exactly a light workload. I mean, this guy's got some weight under his belt. Pun intended.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Which is surprising, but not really, considering this movie was also written by Judd Apatow, who needs no introduction. That dude was doing everything in the late 90s and early 2000s. Released in February of 1995, Heavyweights follows the story of beloved Camp Hope, a weight loss camp, notorious for not actually helping anyone lose any weight. Camp Hope is sold and taken over by a deranged fitness guru named Tony Perkins, played by none other than Ben Stiller. Now, I have a theory about old Tony, but we'll get into that more later, and based on the title of this, I'm sure you can figure out where this is going. Thank you. Hallelujah. Oh man, take 6. Take 6 is where it's at. So we open with the last day of school, and our main character, Jerry, played by Andrew Schwartz, on the last day of school, they're finally out for summer vacation. Cue the typical paper toss at the end of the school year. Which, did anyone actually do this? Because I went to school for 12 years and don't remember anyone doing this. We couldn't even toss our hats at graduation. They told us it would take up too much time between ceremonies, and if anyone did it, they would hold their diploma. Which honestly, at this point, it would have been worth it because I have no idea where that thing is now, 15 years later. God, I'm old. Existential crisis aside, Jerry gets home to be absolutely bamboozled by his parents and Tim Nelson, the snaky doctor from Holes. They tell him he's being sent to weight loss camp, our Camp Hope. Side note, I found out this movie was actually filmed in my home state of North Carolina, which I thought was pretty cool. So they arrive to the camp, and the kids seem genuinely excited to be there. They love the camp counselors, Pete and Tim, a set of brothers who have been there for decades. They love the owners, and they love the new camp nurse, Julie. Obviously, this is because they never really do anything serious, and they all just kind of goof off and have fun. This is obvious because they start to unload all this candy and junk food that they brought with them into these hidden spots that they have in the bunks that they built up over the years.
And thin isn't it?
This is definitely not sanitary.
So on the first night, we get a brief cameo from Jerry Stiller, who comes out as the camp counselor to announce they're bankrupt and that the camp has been sold. Actually, a pretty hilarious scene. You would think that this is information that would need to be shared before you send a bunch of underage children on what I only assume to be several weeks, if not months, on premise and property under adult supervision, and then they get there and it's changed hands. I just don't see that being okay, but then again, it was 1995, essentially a different world. But anyway, so this is where we're introduced to Tony, Ben Stiller's character, whose rich dad bought the camp for him. And this is where my theory comes into play, that Tony Perkins is White Goodman before he became White Goodman. I mean, come on. They have the same mannerisms. They have the same voice. They have the same energy.
I eat success for breakfast.
He's obsessed with fitness because he used to be obese as a child. The new logo for the camp even looks like the Globo Gym logo. We'll dive more into that later, and we'll also dive more into it in the Dodgeball review that's going to come. Spoiler alert.
You ready for the hurricane?
But with that being said, go back and watch Dodgeball and watch Heavyweights and tell me I'm wrong. From there, we cut to the sunrise of day 1. Tony introduces the kids to the Perkins system. He's going to kick these kids into shape with a strict regimen of diet and exercise. He's also using this time to film a promo and infomercial for his Perkins system that he hopes to sell. They start by evaluating all the kids' fitness levels and weight levels and things of that nature, basically BMI or BPI, whatever they call it. And this is also where we're introduced to the rival camp, Camp MVP, We also learn about the end of camp relay race that takes place every year, in which Camp MVP basically crushes Camp Hope every single year. And with that, camp's underway. They start with a baseball game. Camp Hope gets crushed. After a poor showing at the baseball game, the kids are ratted out by a Perkins System employee who used to be a member at the camp in years prior. What a narc this kid is.
Are you a knock? I'm sorry?
An absolute Scrooge.
Are you or are you not a knock?
Downright snitch. In this scene, one of the kids, Josh, a loud, outspoken kid from New York, starts to pop off. He's giving Tony crap, making fun of him, doing all these things, and Josh disappears, presumably never to be seen from again. And I think this is where we kind of start to see Tony's degradation mentally, where he starts to kind of become White Goodman, because he kind of breaks a little bit in this. So Josh leaves camp, and as punishment, Tony starts basically starving these kids to make sure to show that his program works. There's a video guy named Doug running around, which this guy just makes cameos in all kinds of Judd Apatow stuff, and it's hilarious. But he wants to make sure that his program comes off as if it works. Later in the evening, they have a dance with what I can only assume to be an all-girls camp in the area. So imagine being one of these kids, shipped off in the middle of the summer, taken away from everything that you know and love, to a camp where you thought you were going to have fun. Then you're left to your own devices, starved and malnourished, and worked to the extreme, to then go to this dance, essentially a Sadie Hawkins dance, with a bunch of girls that you don't know, super awkward, no one's dancing, the entire thing is super weird, until the OG camp counselors come in and they save the day, and everybody starts to kind of have a little bit of fun. Only for a moment, until Tony comes in and shuts the whole thing down, sends the girls home and the kids back to their bunks.
All right, dance is over. Everybody go home. Thank you for coming, ladies. Put the fruit trays away. The insects will be out soon.
Which you would think that as a weight loss camp counselor, you would take any little win that you could get, and dancing, while it may be only a few calories, it's still something. You would think you would want the kids out there doing some kind of physical activity. Like, dancing's perfect, get out there. The next day, Josh comes back. He explains to the kids that his dad's a lawyer, shocker, and he gets them back in. With Josh now back, the rest of the kids start to plot and figure out how they can get the rest of them out of there. So they break into Tony's room while he's out for a run, and they find that all of the letters they've been writing home, not one of them's been sent. Then, in a Mission Impossible style scene, they break back out of Tony's room moments before he gets back, narrowly escaping defeat. After all of these shenanigans, they find one of the kids hiding in a bathroom, munching down on a cheeseburger. So now they all have an in to unlimited snacks and supplies, which gives them a little hope. They're getting soda, cookies, cheeseburgers, cake, anything you could imagine. And this lasts for a little while, and then it's time for the first weigh-in. And they've all gained weight somehow.
Josh Birnbaum, step on up. Get on the scale, son. All right. Get off the scale.
Furious at this, Tony decides that the next day they're all going to go on a 20-mile hike. Yeah, 20 miles. So the kids, meeting with the OG camp counselors, decide that they have to find a way to take Tony down. But turns out there's really nothing they can do. He's not technically breaking any laws or doing anything to have the camp close, other than just being a douche, which is technically not illegal. So they go on their hike. The kids decide to take matters into their own hands. They take Tony down with a double knee chop, then somehow trap him in a hole that they dug. Which, when did they dig this hole? Why is it there? I have no idea. The movie doesn't show this. I can only presume while Tony was meditating. I mean, if anyone's like, this is clay. They just weren't out there digging a hole. No one brought a shovel. This hole was just already there. I don't know. It's beside the point. I harp on little things like that. where the did the hole come from? With Tony trapped, they tie him up. They carry him all the way back, the whole way back down. They carry this guy tied up like a pig at a roast. Upon seeing this, Pete decides that this is not okay. He's gonna untie Tony, to which Tony decides it's a good idea to start talking crap about Pete, calling him fat and worthless and all of this, which is never a good idea, by the way. If you're ever tied up somewhere, don't talk crap to the guy that's trying to help you. Just PSA. It's at this point, man, this movie takes a dark turn. They trap Tony in a handmade, electrified jail cell, basically starving and torturing him, telling him to hurt himself, like literally. It's at this moment where my theory comes full circle, and I really believe that Tony snaps. This is the moment where the culmination of all his childhood, all of the previous traumas, everything that he's been through comes to a head, and this guy just loses it. So, in celebration of their victory, they have a candy-induced Burning Man type party. Through the night, after letting them have their moment, Pete and Julie then come back to the carnage, wake them up, get them all settled, and convince all the kids that maybe they can have fun and also have some responsibility and self-accountability to lose weight as well. It's at this point we jump to Parents Weekend, where all the kids' parents come to visit. Since they couldn't do anything legally, to show all the parents how awful Tony's been, they put together a video compiled of all the footage that Doug has been taking through this entire time, because it turns out Tony hasn't been paying him. And this video shows just how awful Tony has actually been to all of the kids. All of this is happening while Tony's still locked up, and the one little British kid, because obviously his parents couldn't come, is on guard duty. But Tony escapes, joins all the parents, makes a huge scene, and Jerry's dad cold cocks him and knocks this dude out clean. We then jump to Tony being arrested. So, as Tony's being carried off, his dad, Tony Perkins Sr., also played by Ben Stiller, hilarious, he shows up to make right of the situation by paying off all the parents and the camp, as a rich dad does. And in this, he turns the camp over to Pete's supervision. And I kind of see why Tony is the way that he is. I mean, in this scene, his dad's an absolute jagoff to him. After all of these shenanigans, the kids finally get to have the summer that they always wanted. It's time for the end of summer relay against Camp MVP. Camp Hope being the Indians, Camp MVP being the Greeks. MVP gets off to an early lead, and with some timely academic questions, some determination, unique skills, and a souped up go-kart, Camp Hope comes back and wins. And I'm fairly certain that this go-kart scene has led to many injuries that I had as a child. There may not be a correlation, there probably is. Overall, I thought this movie was pure nostalgia fuel if you had seen it as a kid, and pretty fun overall. It wasn't the biggest release back in the day, but more than worth the watch as an adult. And now, we make our newest entry into Captain Kirk's top 10. I can't say that this movie was better than any of the other two that we've seen. It would probably never cross your path, unless you saw it as a kid, which would place Heavyweights at a solid third. So, until next time, peace. Wait a minute.